Hey, Twisted listeners, I'm Cindy,
And I'm Diva.
and this is Twisted Listers, a podcast about murder.
And Liz.
And this is part 2 of Manifest. Oh, no, they didn't. It's a collection of stories of people who have manifestos. And
Yeah. Special kind of person.
very, very particular kind of guy. Pretty fucking silly. But very interesting stories nonetheless. So before we
Yeah,
get
unless
into
you're like a 19th century German philosopher, and you have a manifesto, if you're not that, then you're probably a dick.
Yeah, no, you're probably just like the worst. Which all these people kind of are. So I'm
Yes.
I'm excited to talk about mine because
Yeah.
he is like in some people's minds kind of a hero, but I wanna
Yeah,
kind
and
of
ours are going to be a good duet. I picked mine kind of to go with yours, so it's kind of an interesting pairing.
cool, okay. Okay, cool.
They have something major in common, you'll find.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. Before we get into it, we have to address we got called out
Yes.
for ableism, which like I hate to admit it was a fair call out.
Yeah.
But we can only
Yeah.
plead ignorance and promise to do better. So, Diva, you
Yeah, it
wanna?
was because when I was discussing Sung Hui Cho, the Virginia Tech shooter, I described his this selective mutism as being like he's just choosing not to talk, which is not exactly an accurate description of that. It's actually part of like several different mental health situations like autism, and it's not quite that simple. So you have anxiety and you genuinely like can't at certain times. It just kind of, I think it means more that you sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
Right.
Whereas the term selective, I genuinely hadn't heard of that. And the term selective threw me off because selective kind of sounds like voluntary, right?
Right.
And I also parroted like a lot of the articles on Cho that basically said he chose not to talk to people. And so they were misrepresenting this condition. And so I did because I copied what they said. So,
Yeah. And to be fair, like it's our responsibility as people covering these stories to like do our due
yeah.
diligence and do our research, but there's also like unfortunately this is not our full-time job, so we do the research when we can, and sometimes it's not possible for us to double check all of the sources. It's not possible for us to always have like perfectly clear answers for everything. So I'd never heard of
Yeah.
it either. So when you were like, oh, he's just selectively choosing not to talk to people, it's like people can be diagnosed with psychopathy, and
Right,
it's
right. And
not.
also in the context of Cho, they were also talking about him in the same paragraph, like being a dick to teachers and this and this. So they kind of threw it in there as like, oh, and he's also choosing not to talk, So it was like, it tracks because I don't know anything about that condition as like part of him just being kind of like
The
weird.
worst. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in any case, it was irresponsible for us to just be like, yeah, this condition basically you're a dickhead. And it's like, well, it's not quite that simple, and it's actually not even what it is. Like he was a
Right.
dickhead, but it wasn't because of this condition. Like, again,
Right.
I think
Exactly.
we did talk a lot about like, well, where does the mental illness stop and where does him just being an asshole start? Because
Mm-hmm.
it can the lines can blur, and when you aren't aware of
Yes,
people's like
for sure.
situations, you can take their anxiety or their shyness as like them being rude, which isn't necessarily fair. So I think we just kind of ran down that a
Yeah.
little bit
But to
too much.
clarify, he's both mentally ill and he was also a dick. So
Yeah, he was also the worst.
um
So yeah.
you can for sure be both. And I'm sure we know people in our lives who are rocking both
Yeah. But for me as somebody who like
things.
has like a neurodivergent thing that like I can't even hide, like I would never
Yeah,
want us to be ableist in
of
the way
course
we
not.
present. Yeah, and of
No,
course you wouldn't either. Neither one of us would. So we wanted to call
no.
that out and say thanks for pointing that out. We will do better. We will be more what's that noise? It's so loud. It's like I don't know. Anyway,
Luna purring, maybe?
oh maybe. Well, we will be more careful about stuff like that because we know that it can be, obviously we need to be responsible about the way we report these things. So we are sorry. And we will do better. The comment said, "Hey,
Yeah,
do better." And like, we will. We absolutely
yeah.
will. And we take full responsibility for that. Um, Anybody who listens to us knows that's not like generally our
We
shit. So
appreciate you calling it out because I won't. I'll be more careful to look up things like that in the future.
yeah, and please, like, if you guys notice things like that, like, hit us up, call us out. Like, we want this to be,
It's okay.
we want to do our best. So please
Yeah.
continue to hold us accountable. We want that. And
Unless
thank
you're
you.
just saying like we hate your voices, then like fuck off.
Yeah, if you
We
guys
can't
just
do
want to be
anything about
dicks,
that.
like suck it. But like if you actually have like legitimate things like, hey, you guys got this wrong, like please tell us. Like we're always down to hear that. So anyway, okay, moving on. I went first last time, so you go first this time, is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So this is going to be a fun one. Still murder, yeah, obviously, but
Right.
this is a case of Jerad and Amanda Miller. This happened in 2014 in Vegas, and I gotta say up top that Jared's name is spelled a way I find tremendously annoying for the fact that I believe it is just pronounced Jerad. His name is pronounced Jerad, but it's spelled Jerad. Jerad.
Jerad, Jered.
No, Jerad.
Oh,
And in
Jerad.
my head,
No. Mm-mm.
I keep seeing Jerad and I keep hearing Jerad in my head because that's how it's literally fucking spelled, but it's just Jerad.
Yeah,
With
it's
the vowels
backwards.
switched. With
Switch
the
them.
vowels switched.
Y'all
Yeah.
not special. Stop it.
So that is already upsetting
That's
to
annoying.
me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when we had a guy named Jonathan with the
Yeah.
O at the end, but it was just pronounced Jonathan. And I'm like, yeah, but you're just spelling it wrong. Like,
Like if you wanted to be said Jonathan, then spell it that way. Like knock it off. Knock it the fuck off.
uh, yeah. So we got
Mm-mm.
Jerad Miller, who's 31, and he's got a 22-year-old wife named Amanda. I can't shit on that age difference too much because when I met my husband, I was 23 and he was
Mm-hmm.
36, so that's
Yep.
fine. But yeah, a little bit of an age difference. They are two, I'm going to say, exceptionally methy looking people.
Oof.
And I don't want to be, pejorative to folks struggling with drug issues, but it's okay in this in this
Mm-hmm.
case.
All right.
I just need to paint a picture. These two people are assholes. I need to paint a picture that they look like uh, they're full of meth, and I don't know that they are. It's actually that doesn't even come up, but they just look like that.
Right.
Um,
I got you. I understand. I get what you're saying.
and yeah, they live in Vegas. They had recently moved from Indiana and then Washington before that, so they're kind of moving around.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say they're assholes, it's because they spent pretty much all their time being pretty typical anti-government prepper, right-wing type people, espousing Nazi beliefs, basically.
Ew.
And I'm not saying Nazi like to mean like Republican. I mean like actual swastika
Mm-hmm.
Nazi type people. Jerad had felonies for vehicle theft in Washington, so I think he'd been getting charges and then kind of moving, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, their anti-government beliefs, it's kind of, I mean, this is like a bajillion different people. It's like Timothy McVeigh. It's like, that kind of person where um, it's so interesting to me that they have like a core of truth to what they believe in that like the government is terrible, the police are terrible, the government is like victimizing the people and doesn't have the people's best interests. Like that part's true, but then where they get it fundamentally wrong is that they position themselves, white people, specifically white gun owners, as being the primary potential victims of like a government takeover. And it's like, oh,
Right.
you're missing the point. You
It's
know what
like,
I
oh,
mean? It's
so
like
close. So
you were
close.
you were there. Like I'm not saying the government's amazing,
Yeah.
but they're positioning themselves as the center and the victim, and that's weird. And they always think it's white people who are the most persecuted. So it's like just like, oh, okay. They identified as belonging to the Patriot movement. I've also heard it called the New Sovereign movement. It's basically like Nazis
Mm-hmm.
of now. It's basically Nazis Redux. Um, and Amanda also worked at Hobby Lobby. I just thought that tracked. Um,
It
you know.
does. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
In April, so a company in keeping with their values.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in April of 2014, the couple joined the Bundy Ranch, a couple hours outside of Vegas, I believe,
Oh,
where
no.
supporters, where hardcore patriot people, Cliven Bundy and his family, were having their cattle taken by the federal government because they were on federal land, and apparently it was actually the supporters, the Bundy supporters, assert that it's because of their like hardcore right wing beliefs. However, I believe it was something really mundane, like they weren't paying the fees to have the cattle or something, and
Mhm.
the government was just like, you have to pay this fee, and they were like, you'll never take our cows, right? They made this huge thing of it, um,
I mean, fuck the
instead of just
government
paying the
trying
fuck.
to well, but fuck the government consistently trying to, like, take people's money for using land that we already pay for
No,
with our taxes. Like, fuck them.
exactly.
Fuck them and fuck them.
So yeah, I mean, fuck the cow fee. It's true, but that's like where this all originated. So Jerad and Amanda go with lots of other supporters, white gun people, to go like, don't take their cows, you know.
Mhm.
Anyone seen South Park? I'm kind of doing a thing on like, they took our
They took
gerbs,
our
remember?
gerbs, yeah. They
And
took
it
our
just, yeah,
cows.
I love how it degrades into like, dip, 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 like
Yeah.
just the sounds. They took their cows, yeah.
Um,
So they get kicked off the ranch actually because the other, get this shit, the other like Tea Party right wingers actually think they're too fucking wild. Like these
which
two are
is
kicked out
so
by the
crazy.
other right wingers. Yeah, they're
Jesus
like, you're too
Christ.
much.
You're doing too much here,
Um,
guys.
yeah, amongst a group of people that are all doing too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so they're ejected, but before they go, they're actually interviewed by the news. Jerad is, and he just loves camera time and talking about his beliefs. Jerad calls the event the next Waco, this guy with his cows, and he basically is saying like, if they want to, I'll Cliff notes what he says. It's like, if they want to come here with violence and that's the language they want to speak, then we'll give it to them. We'll return with violence. There was never ultimately a violent standoff, so they didn't get what they wanted. Um,
Mm.
I don't know what happened to the cows, but we don't care. Um, so apparently, Jerad and Amanda also told lots of people, like all kinds of people, that they wanted to kill cops and that they wanted to do the next Columbine. That like it seems like every fucking mass shooter ever is really into Columbine.
Yeah, I don't understand
Um,
that. Like, I mean, I do understand it, but it's just
so
fucking pathetic. Like,
it's not original,
Mm-mm.
for sure. So 4 months prior to this event, also Jerad threatened a DMV employee in a phone call, saying that he would kill people who tried to take his license away. Because again, it's another thing where it's just a fucking like rule. Again, granted, it's a dumb rule, but like you just have to abide by these dumb government rules. And he's like, "No, I'm special," right?
Mm-hmm.
So his license was suspended, and they're like, "Well, you can't drive." And I guess he got really mad, and he's like, "If you try to come take my license, I'll kill the first person I'll shoot. I'll start shooting." So this causes terroristic threat like officers to come to his apartment. She shares with Amanda and talk to him about that. But they decided after a conversation that he did not pose a threat, despite the fact that he
Okay.
does nothing but threaten people right and left all day long.
Yeah, despite the fact that he's like, I am a threat, they're like, he's not a threat. We'll just
Despite the fact that also, by the way, their apartment is like a closet-sized studio apartment, floor to ceiling ammo and guns.
oh,
But the
Jesus.
cops are like, "You're fine."
Yeah, you're good. You're white, is what
Well,
they're really saying. You're
yes.
white.
Um, So you also can get a good sense of Jared's beliefs from his many, many Facebook posts, um, Amanda's as well. And Jared's Facebook posts and it's not an official manifesto, it was not published, but they are referred to in several places as his manifesto, his online manifesto, if you will. And
Okay.
I'll say it takes a very manifestish tone.
Okay.
And he also has extensive rants on YouTube.
I like to say
Um,
manifesto-y. Manifesto-y.
Manifesto-y. Yeah,
Manifesto-y.
manifesto-y.
Yeah.
I like manifestish.
Manifestish is good too. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So at one point, Jerad also uploaded a video to YouTube called "Would George Washington Use an AK?"
What?
Um, in which he asserts that George Washington and the troops, if they had had the AK-47, then they would have put the gun on the flag. That's how much they would have loved it. Um, And you know what? I'm just gonna say right now, yeah, maybe he would have.
I'm not gonna say he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong.
George Washington is a fucking asshole. So like, I'm not. It's just to me. To me, anyone who's like into the founding fathers is like, oh, you're dumb.
You know what's funny
Oh
is
boy.
I was gonna quote the Big Lebowski and say, "You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole." You know, like you might be right, but
It's
you
not wrong.
still fucking
Yeah.
suck. Like fuck you. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me started on George Washington. That's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, no,
Fuck
we'll
him.
be here all day.
Fuck
His
all of
teeth
them.
were not wooden. Okay.
Fucking asshole. All right. On June 2nd, 2014, Miller posted a rambling manifesto calling for a bloody uprising, your usual stuff here. And I'm going to read you some excerpts from his manifesto, if you will,
Yeah.
and just because you'll laugh.
Yeah. I
And I'm going
can't
to jump
wait.
around here because we don't need to spend that much time with this guy's
Yeah.
thoughts.
Shoot him, shoot.
Um, and I guarantee half of this shit he ripped off of some movie,
Oh, for
action
sure.
movie.
Why
Yeah.
did Woody Harrelson just like pop into my head immediately?
Yeah, you can hear like Denzel Washington or someone saying all this shit.
Right.
Um, well, some of it. Okay. Quote, we can hope for peace. We must, however, prepare for war.
Oh, shut
We
up.
face an we face an enemy that is not only well funded, but who believe they fight for freedom and justice. Those of us who know the truth and dare speak it know that the enemy we face are indeed our brothers. Even though they share the same masters we all do, it's losing me here. They fail to recognize the chains that bind them. To stop this this oppression can only be accomplished with bloodshed. May the best men of our beloved nation stand and fight tyranny without fear and regret. May we stand proud as free men instead of kneeling as slaves, which like, oof, missing the
Yeah.
point there, not
Yeah.
slaves.
Yeah.
Um,
Oof.
it goes on like that. It ends,
It goes on like
may
that.
future generations look back upon this time in history with awe and gratitude for our courage to face tyranny so that they could live happy and free. Like, this is a lofty ass dude who
Yeah, this
thinks
is
like he's got like the type of narcissism where he thinks he's like the most important dude in the world.
yeah, he's like, I'm clearing the way for future generations to be free. I was like, no, you're just a fucking methy weirdo loser.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit.
Yeah. On June 7th, this is his last post. He just has one line: "The dawn of a new day. May all of our coming sacrifices be worth it."
Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. That's all I have to say to that.
It's really over the top. You get the point.
And
You
sadly,
get
I
the
do,
tone.
unfortunately. Yeah.
And then he and Amanda, I saw often, so I don't know if this is more than one time that's frequently photographed, but they
Mm-hmm.
at least one time, possibly often, dressed up as the Joker and Harley Quinn.
Mm.
So a lot of the photos of them around that are used for news stories are that, and you can tell they thought they looked really cool. I'm gonna say like C minus presentation as far as Joker and Harley Quinn go. Not very good. Really busted makeup. They look greasy a little bit. It looks like they're sweating through the makeup. And I guarantee you this motherfucker liked the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee you he saw
Yeah.
that and he was like, yeah, this is about my struggle.
Yeah, he's like, this speaks to me. It's like, bro, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
embarrassing. It's so fucking embarrassing.
Yeah,
Ugh,
it's really
okay.
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing.
Fast forward to June 7th, 2014. Police officers Alan Beck, 41, and 31-year-old Igor Soldo were eating their lunch at Cece's Pizza. And when the couple, Jerad and Amanda, attacked them fucking out of the blue in an ambush, shot them and killed them point blank
Whoa.
in a restaurant in broad daylight.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Just cuz?
Yeah.
That's
And
wild.
there's two cops. And Amanda, they shot them both multiple times, and there's a lot of traumatized restaurant goers who are sitting eating their fucking pizza like, fucking what?
Yeah,
You
for
know, like,
real.
and probably terrified thinking this could be a mass shooting too. That's
Yeah.
what I would think. I would be like under the table, like, fucking goddamn it.
Right.
And both of these officers were also fathers with young children, and Igor Soldo had a baby at home. It's shitty. As he killed the men, Jerad yelled to the crowd, "This is the start of a revolution!" And then he said, "We're freedom fighters!"
Nope.
Which,
no, sir.
no, you're just killing people in a fucking pizza restaurant. Like, you're not a freedom
you're
fighter.
just a big
And
fucking
also,
loser.
they weren't like shooting at you. They were eating pizza, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, who
Like,
are you, like, what are you fighting for? Oh,
there
God.
was no fight. No
It's
fight
really
happened.
embarrassing, to
You
be
just shot them.
honest.
Yeah. They then, after the men are dead, obviously, they place those big yellow "Don't Tread on Me" flags on their bodies.
Oh, Lord.
Then they pinned little pieces of paper with hand-drawn swastikas onto their bodies, and then yet another piece of paper was pinned that said, "The revolution has begun."
Good God. These guys are the
They
biggest fucking jokes. Like, holy
they really
shit.
thought about that out. Like, sat down,
Yeah.
they were like, "This is gonna be so cool." Um, they then took the badges as well as the guns and ammo off of the both officers, and they took them and traveled to a nearby Walmart, which I love that choice for them.
Yeah.
Uh, as
That's on brand.
By the way, we could honestly do murders of Walmart because I bet you there's so many more
Yeah.
murders that involve
I think
Walmart.
we've talked about that a
Um,
couple times. I feel like that's the next one we really need to do.
yeah, although I'd have to do like the Walmart shooting, I bet, and I would feel
Mhm.
shitty about that because that one really like fucked me up. That
Yeah.
that one, trying to kill Latinos. Anyway, um, so as Jerad was entering this Walmart, he said, "Quote, get out! This is a revolution. The police are on the way." Which I'm like, yeah, if this is a revolution and you're starting it at Walmart.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, bad move to go in somewhere at all. Like, you should have gone on the run or something, but like, you're going to go into a store where you can just be blocked in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
What the
Like,
fuck?
it's
Yeah.
kind of stupid. From a military strategy point, it doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
But not that they know about that. So I saw somewhere that they quote unquote used items from the store to form a defensive barricade, but there's footage later I'll talk about, and in the footage it just looks like they're kind of behind, like in a normal aisle. So I don't think they actually did any kind of defensive maneuvering. They just hid behind stuff in the store,
Hmm.
kind of using it as a cover.
Hmm.
And as they're kind of maneuvering or getting their little area set up in the store, a 31-year-old man named Joseph Wilcox actually tried to confront them because, or I think he thought it was just Jerad, didn't
Hmm.
see Amanda, tried to confront Jerad because he was armed. So he's the good guy with the gun figure, right? That Republicans always harp on,
Right.
who's going to stop it. And he was going to, that was his intention, when Amanda, who we didn't see, came up on his side and shot him in the stomach.
Yeah, that's why
So
it's insane to me that they're like, oh yeah, just private citizens will handle this. Like, what?
yeah,
Excuse
and
me?
doesn't it's shitty that he died because he had that idea.
Yeah.
And it's
No.
kind of heroic in a way, but then it's sad that, obviously didn't work. It's not going to work majority of the time,
Right.
probably. So,
Majority of the time, you're just going to get
um,
yourself killed. You're going to be a
yeah,
victim.
another victim. Yeah. But as
Mm-hmm.
this guy approaches Jerad, oh yeah, I just said that. Ba-do-do-do-do.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stupidly cornered in the Walmart. A bunch of SWAT teams get sent in because they killed the cops in public. So it's like shocking they didn't even get to them before then. So the
Right.
response team is like boop boop boop. Like a huge force is out.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, somewhere in this, there's a gunfight, kind of gun battle back and forth a little bit. And somewhere in the middle of that gun battle, Amanda shoots Jerad and then herself.
Do you think he knew she was going to, or did she just like make the call?
Supposedly there was some kind of, it's
Pact?
asserted that they had some kind of suicide pact. Yeah, where this is how they would go out. They wouldn't like let themselves be arrested, kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's also reported that in the firefight or whatever, the gun battle here, cops actually shot Jerad. And then they
Oh.
reported that it was Amanda to cover their asses. However, they release video, the surveillance footage from the Walmart later, the cops do, to prove their story. And it cuts off before she shoots Jerad, because obviously that would be very, very graphic.
Yeah.
But it does appear to show her taking aim at him. So
Okay. Well, also though, if they're engaged in a gunfight, why would the cops get in trouble for shooting him?
Yeah, that's also a good point. I don't think they would.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean,
And this is like you're
they
shooting at
shoot
cops.
teenagers with garden tools in their hands, and
They
there's no
shoot teenager
problem.
black teenagers for literally existing and
Just
doing
for
absolutely
yeah,
nothing.
exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, and they get away with it. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you're shooting at cops, you're pretty much fucking fair game. I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and honestly, that's probably the one time I agree with firing back at someone is if they're actively firing a gun at you.
Like, yeah, I feel
Is
like
like
that's the like,
that's
for me,
the here we are.
that's the line.
Yeah,
That
here's the
feels right.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the line. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, but yeah, supposedly there's some question around that, I guess, or they who shot Jerad, but
Mhm.
the shot does appear to show Amanda taking aim at him, like about to shoot him. So
Yeah.
and it kind of tracks that they would have a suicide pacty type thing, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So they carried with them a ton of ammo, so it's thought they were intending to try to kill more cops in this gun battle or kill more random people, but it just didn't pan out. They kind of over prepared, but not in the right ways. They were like, let's just get tons of ammo, but they didn't think about the basics of how was going to play out.
Right. Right.
Um, Police at first, I just wanted to say this was very funny to me. At first, they said in all of the official statement that they didn't know if the couple was with the Nazi stuff on the cops, that they were trying to assert that the cops are Nazis or profess their allegiance for being Nazis. And I thought that's
Oh.
actually a really interesting point because,
Uh-oh.
like, they were called. Oh, sorry.
No, it froze for a sec. Go ahead.
No, I just thought that was a really interesting point because it inherently, like, actually asking that question calls out, like, an inherent contradiction in this ideology that they ascribe to because you're saying you're a Nazi, and then at the exact same time, they were calling the government a fascist government.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like you're saying you love fascism, but you don't like the government being fascist.
Right. That's interesting.
Um, it is interesting.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and
Hmm.
are you trying to say that the cops are Nazis, or is the flag because you're a Nazi? You know,
Right. Right.
what is it? So cops used a small explosive device to bust into their apartment that was probably unnecessary just for drama.
Yeah.
They found a ton of relevant literature on just being horrible white supremacists. You can imagine the magazines,
Yeah.
and whatnot, flyers. And it was actually their friend's apartment because they had actually gotten kicked out of their original apartment for being so dirty and
Mhm.
filthy. So that just paints more of a picture of their scentscape.
Mhm.
Um, and the apartment, you can see, I saw one YouTube video of it, and it's just like garbage and guns and ammo. It doesn't look like people could even live in it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. They're dead. A memorial popped up at the CC's Pizza, and there's lots of also interviews and material out there about the two cops who were killed. I didn't see much about Joseph Wilcox, the good guy with the gun, but obviously Beck and Soldo's families were very upset by this, and there's
Yeah.
lots of hoopla. Obviously, I know how we feel. You all know how we feel about cops, but
Yeah.
yeah, but still, these guys are still assholes, and they yeah, again, there was no like no ideology behind it. Yeah, behind this that makes any sense. I just thought it was interesting too that like I said that these people hate cops and the government, but they think white people are the victims of
Right.
that.
Right. Again, it's like, oh, so
It's
close.
fascinating.
So close.
Yeah,
And yet. It's like,
yeah,
well, you've got it. That's why for me it's always hard when somebody has the right answer for the wrong reason or they're doing the right thing for the wrong reason because it's like that so quickly. First of all, that completely cheapens it, but it could so
yeah.
quickly like make that not you know what I mean? Like they could so quickly go to doing the wrong thing because if the reason they're doing the right thing is for the wrong reason, that's like a dangerous, like a slippery slope, I guess. I don't know how to explain
It's
it.
just sad because it makes me want to like make them these types of people like allies, you know? Like
Yeah.
if you could just flip the switch and take their anti-government feeling and make them realize that we're all being screwed over. It's not just you and your people. It's like everyone. Like then
Hmm.
they're so close to getting it.
Right. Right. Oh. Anyway. Okay.
But they
Well,
are.
there it is. All right. I can see the connection between yours and mine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
Yes.
big. And mine is Christopher Dorner. I'm going to do Christopher Dorner.
Yay.
This was a
I assigned this to Cindy. I was
crazy.
like, "You're doing it."
You did, and I love it. His manifesto is fucking crazy. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I mean, I'm going to talk a lot about it. I'm not going to read too much directly out of it, but there are some like key moments that I want to call out, both for like their accuracy in like the statements he's making, and then in other cases for like how fucking weird and hilarious and like out of left field it is. So, but anyway, let's talk about Christopher Dorner. So, Christopher Jordan Dorner, was born June 4th, 1979, in New York. And I think before he was even a year old, moved to the greater Los Angeles area. He was raised, I think, around Norwalk, so like South LA. Definitely not LA
Okay,
City. We're talking like LA County. So he
gotcha.
was kind of down like Montebello ways, kind of. And what's really interesting is he later said um that it was really white down there, which is interesting
Hmm.
because my experience with that area is that it's not very white. There's a lot of like Latino
Yeah,
people in that area.
I was gonna say I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I think he might be wrong. I don't know. But he
Maybe one
lived
particular little suburb might be,
well, he did
you know.
then live in Cypress, which is like very, very northern Orange County, which that could definitely
Okay,
be
that
like
could be.
maybe a little bit more white, I guess. Actually I'm gonna look right now. 54.4% white as of 2010. And
Hmm,
then 43% of that is non-Latino white.
okay.
So a pretty still pretty white, I guess. So he's not totally wrong. But in any case, that kind of area I don't think of as like white suburbs, but I guess apparently maybe it is. In any case, so he grew up in California with his mom and his sister, don't really know what's up with his dad, and he went to school in Cyprus to high school in Cyprus. And he said that he always dealt with a lot of racism. He dealt with a lot of like kids talking shit to him, using the N word, just generally like picking on him.
Yeah,
But the thing about Christopher Dorner was he was like, was he like 6'2", 6'4", some
he's a
crazy
big guy.
big,
Yeah,
he's a big fucking dude. And he's not just like tall and skinny, he's like built. So
yeah.
he would sort of match energy. People would talk shit to him and he would like whoop their ass. Like just straight up, he was not afraid to like fuck fools up. If he thought the reason was
Yeah.
uh if he thought it was righteous, then that's like he was down to fuck fools up.
Okay.
So he then decided to go to Southern Utah University, which like if you are having an issue with
With a lack of
racism,
diversity.
with a lack of diversity,
That's not
what
it.
what are you doing? It
No.
might have had to do with the fact that he was on the football team there. I don't know that he had like
Okay.
a I don't know that he had like a what do you call it? Like a scholarship or anything, but I don't know. What I do know is that depending on what podcast you listen to, what article you read, there are two very different takes on this man. Now, I had heard and read that people said that he was like a narcissist and always a victim, right? So he would always claim quote unquote racism when maybe it wasn't there. Other people were like, no, he was just really, really like, he was a really nice guy and it was really important to him to do the right thing. So we have kind of these two totally different kind of opinions about who this man is. So I wanted to call them both out because I don't want to take a side as much as like all the other people who have reported on him, all the other people who have talked about him. I feel like people are either like, he's the sweetest guy ever, but he did something terrible, or like this aligns with what a piece of shit he is in general. You know what I mean? And I feel like the truth is
Yeah.
probably somewhere in the middle. So it's important to me to kind of call that out. So, okay. Anyway, after he got out of um, college. He majored in political science. He did get married, but he ended up getting divorced in 2007. No, didn't have any kids. He seemed like a really nice guy. Like his neighbors liked him, whatever. Um, but he and his wife divorced. He also went into the United States Navy Reserve starting in 2002, and he was in and out of that throughout the rest of this story. So beyond that, so he was like doing pilot training, um, and just doing like getting real into like the army life. So while he was doing this training in 2002, he and a classmate, while they were like, in this like Vance Air Force training thing, they found a bag with $8,000 in it, just
Mm.
laying on the ground.
Oh
And
my gosh.
to the point of the people who said he was a really nice guy with a really strong moral compass, he and this other guy turned this in to the police station, and it ended up
Wow.
belonging to a Korean church. The guy, like the pastor, I guess, who had the money, had put it on top of his car for some reason. Like he
Mm.
was getting
Oh
gas
my
and he drove
gosh.
away and it fell onto the ground.
Oh
So
my gosh.
when they turned it in, the money was returned to the church. And when interviewed, both Christopher and this other man, I forget his name, they said, this is a matter of like integrity. Like this is doing the right thing. Like that's a lot of money. It was intended for the church. Like it would not be okay to take that. That's that's
That
pretty.
is not something a lot of people would do.
No, I struggle. I struggle with what I would do. I'm not going to lie to you. I
Oh, no, I would
struggle.
think about it for a minute for sure.
I think about it for like a day, maybe. It would
Yeah,
be I'd cry
that's
as I
tough.
handed it over. So the fact
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
just like without a second thought turned it over is like really. And I
yeah, for
think
sure.
I think that that's really again, it does sort of support the idea that he was a very moral person at least to a point and like a nice guy. Now, while he was a naval reservist, he also joined the LAPD. He entered the police academy in 2005 and graduated in 2006. Um, After that, he was deployed like pretty quickly by the Navy Reserve. He went to Bahrain. So he was gone for
Okay.
like a full year. So essentially, right after he finished his police training, he didn't get the chance to use it because he got sent overseas. Now, during his
Wow.
training, there was an altercation that took place that I think is really important to talk about because I think it sort of sets the scene for the rest of what's to come. He was in a van with a bunch of other like trainees and maybe a couple of like actual police officers at this point, and the couple of guys behind him who were white started talking about a suspect and dropped the N-word a few times. Now, Christopher
Mhm.
here turned around and was like, mm-mm, do not fucking do that. Like, do not say that word.
Yeah,
And the guy basically said to him, I'll say whatever I want, like whenever I
right.
want. Like, fuck you. So Christopher attacked the guy, went fucking after
Okay.
him. And this ended up being reported. And it was basically Christopher's word against the other guys in the confrontation because none of the other cops would say anything. They all refused to get involved, even though they were
Mm.
in a fucking van. It's not like there was a lot of space and they missed it.
Yeah, they heard it. Yeah.
So it gives you a little idea of how these cops operate, even in training. They are taught to take care of their own
Yeah,
and to lie and be
very
pieces of
much.
shit. Just straight up
Yeah.
be lying ass bitches for their fucking
Yes.
friends. Because the LAPD and most
Yeah.
police are just members of a gang and they're dangerous and they're terrible. Just in case anybody wasn't sure how we felt about that or how I
Yes.
feel. I can't speak for you, but I feel like
Yeah, I mean
that's
police in general, but LAPD are specifically notorious
fucking
for look
terrible. Yeah.
Google LAPD gangs. There's actually like a running thing of stickers, graffiti, and like spray paint things all over the town that just
Oh, they've
says
got tattoos. I mean, the cops, the LAPD
Google
have like
LAPD
tattoos and
gangs.
shits and shit and
Yeah.
shits and shit. Yeah. Oh yeah. Google
Hmm.
LAPD gangs. Yeah, you'll see it. But the cops also like they get like tattoos and shit together, and it's like this brotherhood thing, which isn't terrifying at
Yeah.
all, right? Like
We
that's not
literally have
dangerous.
cops with fucking like Punisher skulls tattooed on their arms. Like it's
Which just
terrifying.
goes to show that on top of everything else, they're very, very dumb, and they don't
Oh yeah.
have good reading comprehension. But we digress. In any
Also,
case,
Stanley would have hated that. That's not what the Punisher was about.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like the reading comprehension is garbage if they think
Appropriating it.
the fucking Punisher would want whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. In any case. All right.
Yeah.
So he gets back from Bahrain. He basically did not have any real like training like on the streets. So in July 2007, he gets paired with this training officer, Teresa Evans, and he's supposed to be completing his probationary training. Now, Teresa later said that on their first day working together, Christopher was already talking about suing the LAPD for racism. So that sort of
Mm,
kind of lends itself to the idea that some people have about him, where he's like this kind of whiner, everybody's always against him, everybody's
right.
racist, whatever. in my opinion, I don't think that he's wrong. Like, you're dealing with the LAPD. Like, it's not like they aren't known for being racist. So, but it is
No.
interesting. He talks to this woman that he just met about this job that he just got, and he's talking about like suing his employer. So it is a little bold, we'll say.
Yeah, he's opening with that. He's not
Yeah. Yeah.
waiting. Yeah.
And the reason I think is because he was super mad because even though he got in that altercation with his classmates and had reported it, nothing was done. And it was kind of determined that like maybe he was in the wrong and they weren't. And he felt that he was being slighted and that he was being sort of like picked on, just like he felt when he was in school growing up, in college, and other parts of his life. So for him, this is like a repeating theme, which I could see why that's
Yeah.
super frustrating. So anyway, July 28th, 2007. So he's only been like officially on duty for about a month. He and Teresa go to the Doubletree Hotel in San Pedro, and there's a disturbance there being caused by a man named Christopher Gettler. He had schizophrenia and severe dementia, and
Okay.
they had to detain him. Now, while they were detaining him, according to Christopher, Teresa kicked this man in the face one time and in the chest twice. Now
Okay.
at the time, now this man was like transported, I think, to the hospital and then like arrested and like, released into his father's care. Now, at the time, their superior officers asked Christopher, like, oh, what happened? But basically said, like, well, how did you handle this? And he did not give up Teresa. He did not tell on her for what he saw.
Right. Like
Which,
they're trained to do. Yeah.
right. So it's interesting if he's such a moral guy, if he's such a stand up guy, why did he not report it? Now, later on, he would say, I didn't report it because I wasn't asked about what she did. I was only asked about what I did. And later, when I saw that she gave a report that also failed to mention her actions, that's when I reported it. So, according to him, he thought she would self report. And when she didn't,
Mm.
that's when he decided to report her. On the other hand, the day that he reported her happened to be one day after she gave him a very bad performance review. So,
So it could be that, I mean, it happened, but it could be that it happened and he was just sitting thinking about it, or he wasn't going to report it, and then when that happened he's like, oh fuck you, I'm gonna you know say the
exactly.
thing.
So it's like, was he
Yeah.
just so again, it could be argued like, oh, it didn't happen and he made it up. It could be argued like he's not that good of a guy and he's just like a little passive aggressive
Lying.
prick. It could be that he really what he said is true and he expected that she would tell on herself, and when she didn't, the timing just happened to be weird. It's really hard to say. But in any case, this kicked off a pretty long investigation in the LAPD. Teresa Evans denied it, and police really investigated it. So they said that the man, Christopher Gettler, who was, supposedly kicked, did say that he was kicked by a female officer. But his
Hmm.
father later came out and said, well, because of his dementia, because of like where his mental state, he often will just say yes to things, even if the answer is not yes. Like, he just kind of
Okay.
does that. So they'll
Right,
be
so
like, did
that's
this
not
happen?
100%.
Yes. Yeah. So it's not 100%.
Yeah.
But he was treated for bruising and, marks on his face and chest that are
Okay.
consistent with that.
All right.
Additionally, two workers from the hotel were interviewed and gave testimony saying that they did not see the police kick him. So
Okay.
eventually, I think in like 2008, Dorner was not only was Teresa Evans found to have not kicked this man, Christopher Dorner was fired for making these statements, which, like,
Oh my
can
gosh.
can we just talk about how difficult it is for a cop to get fired? They will literally murder children and they'll
And
get
not
like
get fired.
desk duty for like 2 weeks with pay and then be back out on the street.
Yes.
They will
Yes.
terrorize and harass people. They will beat their wives. They will murder their wives. They will beat up
Mhm.
random fucking innocent people or
Murder
guilty people
multiple people over the years and still not get
and
fired.
still not get fired. But this guy gets fired for false accusations, false statements, because it was against another cop. So if this is not like the statement of exactly how this fucking gang works, I don't know what is. And it's
Yeah.
fucking bullshit.
Yeah. You go
Now,
against them and that's different. Yeah.
yes, you go against the LAPD, you're fucking out. It doesn't matter. You fucking murder civilians, the people who fucking pay your paycheck, you're good to go. So he had this attorney, Randall Kwan, and this man, tried his best to defend Christopher Dorner, but he's up against the state. You're not going to win. These people are pure fucking evil and they have all the power in the world.
Yeah.
So, and I think Christopher, Randall said, Christopher is a scapegoat and he's being, overly punished for this bullshit. But the firing was upheld by like multiple courts because they're all tied in. They're all evil, corrupt pieces of shit. So Christopher was ultimately fired. Now, at first, nothing seemed to happen. This happened in 2008. He went back to the Naval Reserves and did his thing. At some point during this time, again, we don't know why, um, he was honorably discharged. So I don't really know what happened, right? Uh, so this was in January 2013, but I don't think that this was something that he was happy about. Even though it was honorable, I don't think it was on good terms. So this is, mid-January, and February 1st is when Christopher Dorner decided to exact his revenge against the Los Angeles Police Department. So February 1st, Anderson Cooper, so fucking weird, receives a package with a DVD that stated Dorner's case against the LAPD. This package also had a bullet riddled challenge coin that was issued by Chief William Bratton. So Bill Bratton, the police chief, Christopher
Yeah.
Dorner shot a hole through it and sent it to Anderson Cooper like a fucking threat, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And it shows that it was shot at 100 yards away. So pretty fucking scary.
Ooh.
2 days later, on February 3rd, 28-year-old Monica Kwan, Randall Kwan's daughter, and her 27-year-old fiance, Keith Lawrence, were shot dead in Keith's Kia Optima outside their condo.
Okay.
This was done by none other than Christopher Dorner as a way of getting back at Randall for not defending him to where he thought, to his liking. He thought that Randall was in it
Gotcha.
against
Yeah.
him as well, right? So I should have mentioned that Christopher Dorner also sent Anderson Cooper his manifesto, which was published February 4th. He said, "I will not be alive to see my name cleared. That's what this is about, my name." Now, to just take a real quick second, after he says that, he says, "The question is, what would you do to clear your name?" And then he writes name, a set of words by which a person, animal, place, or thing is known, addressed, or referred to. Name synonyms, reputation, title, appellation, denomination, repute. So then he goes into this whole description of what a name is and what your, reputation is. And it's a very weird kind of way of doing it. And it's a little
Yeah, weird
creepy.
opener.
Yeah. So at this point, in this manifesto, he is threatening all of the police. Now he names some by name, obviously Randall Kwan being one of them, Bill Bratton being one of them, Teresa being one of them. And he says to them, "I know your schedules. I know where your children live. I know when they go to work. I know when they go to school. I know what you're like, where you are at all times, and you're not going to see me coming," essentially, is what he says. So the cops are fucking terrified and on high fucking alert. Um, and it's just a very fucking scary time. So February 3rd are his first two murders. Now we're gonna skip ahead. Randall Kwan was listed as a target, obviously, which is
Mm-hmm.
really fucked up. Um, so February 7th, this is so fucked up. They get a line on Christopher Dorner. He's driving like a Nissan Highland, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Um, and it's so crazy. This guy pulled up next to him and like recognized him, but it took him a while. And as soon as Christopher Dorner drove off, a cop drove up. And the guy's like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure I just saw that fugitive that like killed that cop's like daughter and son-in-law." And so the chase starts. Now, this is so fucked up. That same day, police who were all fucking scared, clutching their pearls, being little bitches, they shot two different sets of innocent fucking people because they
Oh
were
my
in trucks
God.
that were sort of kind of similar to the one that he was driving.
Oh my God.
hmm So in Torrance, 71-year-old Emma Hernandez and her 47-year-old daughter, Margie Carranza, were delivering papers in Torrance, and they were in a blue truck that looked nothing like, I think his was like black, like a black Nissan Highlander.
Totally different victim profile too. It wasn't
It
like a
was
similar looking
two
person.
tiny Latina ladies, not a giant black man.
Yeah, yeah.
102 shots were fired into this truck.
Oh my
No
God.
warning, no checking
Mm,
anything.
that's
Uh,
insane.
yeah, Emma was shot in the back. Maria was shot, I think, in the hand. Both of them survived because on top of
That's
being
incredible.
murderous, chicken shit, bitch ass punks,
Wow.
the cops also can't aim for shit. So these two women survive. 20 minutes later, they shoot up another fucking guy. Uh no, a little bit later than that, I think. Anyway, Michael Crane. No. That's wrong. I'm so sorry. So anyway, they shoot, or I don't know if they shot this other guy or just like bashed into his truck, which also looked nothing like the one that Christopher Dorner had.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
I know, it's so fucked up. So around the same time on February 7th, two officers were flagged down by a man around 1 a.m. who said that he saw Dorner at this gas station. So that's what I was talking about before. The officers followed the trail, and Christopher Dorner had laid a trap for them. So he knew they were coming because he
Mm,
saw the cop car pull up. And as they got close to where he got out of his car and fired a rifle at them. He grazed one of their heads, but he did not kill either one of them.
okay.
About 20 minutes later, so that was in Corona. Now he's in fucking Riverside somehow. And he ambushes and shoots two other officers at a red light. So he drives like a fucking bat out of hell. It's the middle of the night, so probably not a lot of traffic. One of the officers, Michael Crane, died. The other one did survive, but he was in critical condition. Now, around the same time, this is when they're fucking shooting these innocent people because they're driving trucks. I don't really understand. The crazy thing is one of the
Mm,
victims was a white man, so like real fucking crazy that like they thought he was a giant
yeah.
black man. Very
No
strange.
one is safe.
No one
Mm,
is safe because the cops are the worst. So a
it's
little
literally just, it's like they're just shooting, just like boop, 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 just like
yeah,
Wild West style,
there's a
like
truck,
without
kill
even
it.
thinking.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what's going on. They are not using their brains at all. So
No.
an hour or so after that, around 3 a.m., Christopher Dorner tries to steal a man's boat, but fails to do it. And he basically just lets the boat go into the water because he doesn't know how to like dock it properly. So he like unhooks the boat from the dock and then like lets it float away. Like, good job, bro. Uh,
Yeah.
very, very stupid. So I think he then tied the man up and took his car. The man was able to untie himself and call police and let them know, hey, he's in San Diego. So he then, oh, it's a dark gray Nissan Titan. I kept saying Highland, and that's not even a, there's a Toyota Highlander. It's a Nissan Titan. I'm so sorry. I had that wrong. I don't
Okay.
know Nissan trucks. I, listen, there are Chevy trucks and there are Ford trucks, and that's all there are in my mind. So it's hard for me to like,
Yeah.
I
I don't know
apologize.
anything about vehicles of any kind.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. So it's a Nissan
Not my thing.
Titan. It's a Titan, which I knew because when I read that, I was like, oh, Ollie's baseball team, they're the Titans. So you'd think I'd remember.
Right.
In any
Right.
case, he then makes it all the way out to Big Bear Lake. And this probably took him like 4 or 5 hours. So it's now like 8 a.m. On February 8th. So he holes up in this cabin. He finds these people in this cabin. He ties them up. He doesn't kill them. They thought they were going to die because they're seeing all these things on TV about him killing everybody. But he's not
Right.
trying to just kill innocent people. He's
And
just
his
trying to
face
kill
was blasted
cops
everywhere. This was like top news
everywhere.
story. They
Yeah.
want to get this guy so fucking bad.
Yeah, he's been on the run. Like the fucking manifesto showed up February 1st. We're now at February 8th. It's been a full fucking week. So these
Yeah.
people are terrified, but all he does is tie them up and I think like takes their vehicle. Now, meanwhile, he set his Nissan Titan on fire outside of Big Bear Lake to like destroy evidence, but really all he was doing was letting the cops know exactly where he was, which is kind of dumb. So
Yeah.
at this point, they're searching and searching. Also, February 9th, Bill Bratton or somebody else came forward from the LAPD and they were like, listen, Christopher, we're going to reinvestigate your dismissal. Okay. Like just trying to like calm this guy down because he's now killed 3 people. He's fired on 5 people. He's not fucking around and they're all cops or related to cops. So these cops are terrified, and the cops have also attacked 3 people thinking it's him. So now on
Yeah.
the 10th, there's $1 million reward. On the 11th, they have filed charges. Um, on the 12th, they actually go all the way to Tijuana thinking he might be there, and he's not. He's still up in Big Bear. And the craziest thing is, like, while he's up there, he's fucking watching them like search the area. He's got this perfect vantage point just watching these people look for him, and they never fucking find him. Now, finally, on the 12th, they do find him. There was a carjacking. He was trying to jack a car, and they ended up following him to this cabin, and there's a standoff. And they use those like weird smoke canisters that always catch on fire. So the LAPD have these smoke canisters that are like notorious for catching buildings on fire when they're thrown inside of them. And that's what they use on Christopher Dorner. Now, it's like tear gas. Now, the cabin catches on fire and police basically wait for it to burn. And then they go inside and they find Christopher Dorner's burned body on the floor. Now, I have read that he had a single bullet, a single gunshot wound to the forehead or to the temple. I've also read that they think he died from smoke inhalation. I don't know what's true. But what I do know is that they did confirm that it was him, that he had died. And after this, his manifesto became a thing of legend. How'd I do, Tiva? Was that a good retelling?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of
Okay.
people, yeah, like you said, think of him positively because of his, like, ostensibly his mission was to, expose corruption in the LAPD.
Yes. So, and again, there's two different sides. Like, is he just like a whiny little bitch who's making shit up? Is he like really like this, like, justice crusader, or is it somewhere in between? His manifesto really gives me pause and makes me wonder. So, some of the things that he talked about, first of all, like I said, he threatened a bunch of LAPD. He also calls on journalists to look into every place that he ever lived because all of them are racist and terrible. He
Hmm.
lists out Cerritos, California, Pico Rivera, California, La Palma, Thousand Oaks, Cedar City, Utah, Pensacola, Florida, Enid, Oklahoma, Yorba Linda, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada, saying all of these places need to be checked out. He also says, there's so much corruption. I worked patrol at LAPD. Even when I asked to be trained again, I was refused any help and instead got written up. Um, all this, kind of important stuff. But then, then, dear Diva, we get into the
Yeah.
weird shit. First of
Okay.
all, he says, Anthony Bourdain, you're a modern Renaissance man who epitomizes the saying, too cool for school. Like,
Oh, he
what?
just threw in some praise for people into the manifesto.
Oh,
He's
oh,
not
do you not know
even,
about this? Oh, this is so insane.
no.
Westboro Baptist Church, may you all burn slowly in a fire, not from smoke inhalation, but from the flames and only the flames. Little ironic, right? Little ironic there.
I mean, oh yeah, the flames. Yeah, I would agree with two of those opinions. The
Yeah,
Bourdain and the
yeah.
Westboro. Yeah.
The
Okay.
honor, but here's another one. The Honorable President George H.W. Bush, they never give you enough credit for your successful presidency. You were always one of my
Okay.
favorite presidents, second favorite. I hope your health
Two,
improves
two for
greatly.
three.
You are the
2 for 3.
epitome of an American in service to country. Yeah.
Oh my God. He's the
Uh-huh.
worst president of all time.
Yes. Reagan, but we'll see. Pat Harvey. I
Oh
always
no,
thought you
you're right.
right. Pat Harvey,
Reagan and George W. are definitely like vying for that
but they were like back
honor.
to back too, so it's like just a continuation.
No, that was George H.W.
That's what he said, George H.W.
Oh, H.W.,
Yeah, H.W.
not
We're not talking
W.
about that wet noodle, George Bush.
Oh, I was saying W is the worst of all time.
No, no, no. H.W. I think was way worse. Anyway, he then says, Pat Harvey, I've always thought you carried yourself professionally and personally the way a strong black woman should. Your articulation and speech is second to none. You are the epitome of a journalist slash anchor. You are America. He then tells Ellen DeGeneres he loves her. Tim Tebow, he, likes him.
It's really funny that because he knows this is gonna get like press and stuff, that like these
He just
people will like that
he
will
gets to
get this
talk
will
to
get
all
back to
his
them.
celebrities. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
super
he's just like
weird.
going on a room of celebrities being like, you, I like you, I don't like you. Like it's just like kind of funny.
Yeah. Now he doesn't say Lance Armstrong by name because this was after Lance was caught cheating. He says cyclist. I've uh Oh,
Cyclist.
never mind. I was reading this wrong because he says live strong, you fraudulent piece of shit. But he's also talking about cyclists in general. I have no problem sharing the road with you, but at least go the fucking speed limit posted or get off the road. That is a feasible request. Cardinal Mahoney, you are in essence a predator yourself as you enabled your subordinates to molest multiple children in the church over many decades. May you die a long and slow, painful death. So, I mean,
Okay.
it's
He's
all
going
over the
in on
fucking
multiple
place.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and some of it I'm like, hell yeah, dude. And then other parts I'm like, nope. For instance, LGBT community and supporters. The same way you have the right to voice your opinion on acceptance of gay marriage, Chick-fil-A has a right to voice their beliefs as well. That's what makes America so great. Freedom of expression. Don't be dicks and boycott / degrade their business and customers who patronize the locations. They make some damn good chicken. Vandalizing their locations does not help any cause.
Oh
Right?
my God.
But then
It's
he
not that good.
also says it's time to allow gay service members' spouses to utilize the same benefits that all heterosexual dependents are eligible for. So it's like,
Okay.
I, uh, also, maybe my favorite line in this whole thing, Charlie Sheen, you're effing awesome.
It is really all over the place. Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
up, down, horrible statement, correct statement. It's like,
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing, bro? It's like, I don't know. Okay, last thing I'm gonna say.
yeah.
This is his very last paragraph. Blacks must strive for more in life than bling, hoes, and cars. Oh, honey, stop. The current culture is an epidemic that leaves them with no discernible future. They're suffocating and don't even know it. MLK Jr. would be mortified at what he worked so hard for in our acceptance as equal beings and how unfortunately we stopped progressing and began digressing. Chicago's youth violence is a prime example of how our Black community's values have declined. We cannot address this nation's intolerant issues until we address our own community's morality issues first. Accountability. We need to hold OU. And then he stopped. He was going to say probably ourselves accountable. But that was the end of the manifesto. So he never finished it. To which I
It's
say,
unfortunate.
you're very wrong. Like, you're obviously not able to
Yeah.
get to the root of the problem, and you're not really thinking about like systemic racism or other things, but whatever. In
Well, it's
any
yeah, it's
case,
kind of a classic thing, yeah, to kind of assign the effects of systemic racism onto individual Black people's failures is like a
it's, yeah. This guy
classic thing
just,
to do.
it really is. He's like, well, I
But you know who
persevered.
else loved to do that rhetoric was Obama. So,
Yeah. Yep. He did. And I have a
you
feeling
know,
that that was Dorner's first favorite president, if I had to guess.
liberal people like to parrot that too of like, well,
They
just
do.
do better,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think for Christopher Dorner, he's like, well, I dealt with horrible racism my whole life, and look what I ended up being. And it's like, bro, you ended up being a mass murderer or like a spree killer.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't really end up as doing so well after all. Um,
right.
But anyway, so that's Christopher Dorner. That's his manifesto. Sorry, I got a little
Okay.
fuzzy in the middle there with the timeline because so many things go on. Um, but essentially, he killed a bunch of people, and then the LAPD tried to match his numbers with innocent people in trucks. Yeah. So
Yep.
there we go. Oof.
Amazing.
Thanks. I might just leave in the part where my kid interrupted. We'll see. Sometimes I don't feel like editing. But
Hey, happy spring break, Ollie.
yeah, happy spring break to the little one. So that's it. Next week. Um,
Yeah, it's your topic.
it's
Happy
my
St.
topic.
Patrick's Day, everyone.
Woo! We didn't do Irish murders because we've already done that, although it'd be fun to do
We did
again.
that, yeah.
But I decided to do a kind of a different take on a topic we did a long time ago. Um and kind of the sibling to one I did recently. So we did shocking
Hmm.
confessions, and now I want to do false confessions. So
Although
people,
technically we haven't done this because we actually did people who were exonerated, which can
oh
include a lot of
right.
these people, but you can definitely do a false confession and not get out.
Right, or do a false confession and not end up getting arrested,
Yeah.
all sorts of scenarios here. So we're going to do
Yes.
false confessions. It's going to be interesting. I'm trying to like theme
Yes.
my picks a little more lately. So, yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, that's it. Thanks everybody for
Sounds good.
listening. Thanks everybody for reviewing, leaving us messages, keeping us accountable, also telling us you love us. We love you too. And I don't know, anything else we want to say?
That's it.
That's it. All right, guys. Until the next time we find time to record,
Stay.
off our
Liz.
Liz. Now, Bye.